Waiting. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of the Video Vantage podcast. My name is Haley, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Leah. She is actually the only copywriter at Biteable. So she is responsible for pretty much all of the words that you see on Bitable's website. And today she is going to give you some tips on how to concisely share your message. Leah, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So I love to jump right in and get started with our questions. What are some common challenges that people face when they're trying to convey their message concisely?
Yeah, so for starters, I think it makes perfect sense that a lot of people default to writing longer, more flourishy sentences, just because it's more similar to the way that we talk. And I also don't think it's really that common that you'll come across mandated character or word limits out in the wild. So it's just not something that you've had to think about a lot of the time, I think. I guess unless you were writing a lot of tweets back in the day or something, where you've had to think about a word count. But when you're trying to communicate something really specific or important, I think it is so important to communicate thoughtfully, and in a way that respects your audience's time and attention spans. Which is not a dig at the general population, but everyone is so busy and there is so much information being thrown at us all the time that no one really has the time or the patience to sift through a really complicated document or anything like that. So I think the biggest mistake that people make is not being super clear on what their message is before they even start writing. So I think there are 3 things that you want to know before you even start writing, which is, who are you talking to? So who's your target audience? What are you saying? So what is the thing what's the message you want them to take away? And why should they care? So what's the benefit to them? So literally write the answers to those 3 questions at the top of your Google Doc or whatever before you start writing. And keep coming back to it, before you start, while you're writing, when you're finished, just to make sure you haven't roamed too far away from any of that, because it's likely that anything too far away from that is just going to be a distraction from a really nice, concise message.
I love that. That's such great advice. And I completely agree about the attention spans. I think it used to be the average attention span was 7 seconds, but I feel it must be shorter at this point because personally, mine is like a millisecond.
Yeah, no one's got time for that.
And are there any specific guidelines or best practices that people should keep in mind when they're creating headlines or subject lines more specifically?
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. Subject lines are one of my least favorite types of things to write in the entire world. Just because they can be so difficult, but they're also so important.
Yeah.
I don't think it's controversial to say that writing something so short is often so much harder than writing a 3,000 word article where you've
Completely
got
agree.
room to move.
Yeah.
Because every word is so important.
Yeah.
So obviously I think you want to make sure that you're aware of and writing to any platform specific word or character limits. I think at the moment for subject lines, the best practice is no more than 9 words. But generally for anything like that, the shorter the better. With anything like a subject line or a headline where your aim is to grab people's attention enough that they want to click, you want to be finding your hook and just shoving that into those 9 words. This is where you want to be focusing on that why should they care from before, what's the benefit? Put yourself in the mind of your audience and think what would make me want to click on this? And then just try and convey that in as few words as possible. But like I said, it's the worst. It's not good, but the more you do it, the better you get at it.
That's tough. 9 words is not many at all.
Oh, you're telling me.
So, on that note, whether it's headlines or just copy in general, are there any phrases or words that people should avoid when they're trying to keep their message concise?
Yeah. So any filler words, there's a lot of them, but things like just, really, so, literally, in fact, any cliches, anything that if you were to remove it, it wouldn't change the meaning of the sentence, probably doesn't need to be there, or it definitely doesn't need to be there. But I would say as much as it's about like the words that you are or aren't using, it's often about the way that you're structuring the sentence. I think that's the thing when I'm editing other people's writing that I end up changing the most is not so much the words that they're using, but like the order of the words, because there's often a more direct, clear way to say something, which you might not like see if it's something you've written the first time. You need to kind of look back on it and like actively be looking for a clearer way to say something. Um, but yeah, it's easier said than done. But the good thing about writing concisely is that it's a skill which can be worked on.
Totally.
So if it is something that you want to work on, I would totally recommend taking like a sentence or a paragraph that you've written, um, and like challenging yourself to see how many words you can take out or how you can restructure the sentence to make it shorter. And I think you'll be surprised how many words you don't need.
I love that. And it's the perfect segue into our next question, which is if people want to get better at sharing a message concisely, do you have any resources that you would suggest, or maybe tools that you've found, or just any other little tips?
Yeah, so tools like Grammarly can be really helpful. They'll like alert you to any long, complicated sentences you've written and often suggest a clearer way to say it, which can be helpful if you're not really sure how to go about it. ChatGPT, what can't it do? Um, just put your sentence in there and ask it to apply brevity, and take a look at what it's changed. I think don't just take it for what it's given you, like have a look at what it's changed and try and like take that on board. If you're writing to a specific medium, like video, for example, I think that templates can be really helpful. Like Biteable has like thousands of templates that were written by professional copywriters. So not only are the words concise, but because video is such a visual medium, it's also about like the way you're presenting the words. And so you sort of have to write to that as well. So we use a lot of subheadings and bullet points and numbered lists to make it visually concise and digestible, which is maybe not something you would think of if you're not used to writing video scripts. Um, so yeah, there's thousands of those. If you're looking to make a video, literally steal our words. They're there to be stolen. Don't even have to change anything. But yeah, like that kind of works for anything you're writing, like templates, even if it's not a video, like a specific type of email or a letter or something, just Google that thing with the word template at the end and have a look at how other people are phrasing their words and what words they're using. And they can just put you in the right headspace before you start writing to just kind of be on top of the vibe.
I love that. Sometimes you just need to see somebody else's work to kind of like kickstart those gears and get the creative
Yeah,
juices flowing.
exactly.
Okay, now we have a very fun activity planned for Leah. It's the Video Vantage's first ever live game. So we have 5 phrases prepared for Leah, and she is going to shorten them for us to give a real time example of what taking a complex sentence and breaking it down into something more direct would sound like. So, Leah, if you're ready to go, I'll read out the first long sentence.
Hit me.
All right. In order to facilitate a more efficient customer experience, we kindly request that you complete the necessary forms prior to your appointment.
I think the shortest you could get that is probably something like, please complete these forms prior to your appointment. But if you want to keep that benefit in there, I would go to streamline your experience. Please complete all forms prior to your appointment.
I love it. They're both perfect. Next up, we have it is our sincere hope that this product will provide you with the satisfaction and enjoyment that you desire.
Oof. I think you could go as easy as we hope you enjoy using our product, or like we hope you find your experience with product name valuable.
Perfect. It sounds like you've done this before. Next up, we have, in light of the fact that we are currently experiencing a high volume of inquiries, we kindly ask for your patience in awaiting a response.
That one is a classic. Um, we are currently experiencing high demand. We appreciate your patience.
Amazing. Now we have a pretty big one. I think it's the biggest of the bunch. We are pleased to inform you that we have made the decision to extend the deadline for submission of applications to allow for additional time for interested parties to complete the necessary requirements.
Brutal, brutal. That's one you just instantly know about of. Um, you could do to ensure everyone has the opportunity to participate, the new deadline is July 12th, or you could go as short as, please note, we have extended the deadline to July 12th.
It's much better because I was running out of oxygen reading that original sentence. It was too long. And finally, we have our last phrase. Due to the fact that the weather conditions have deteriorated significantly, we regret to inform you that the outdoor event has been canceled.
Unfortunately, today's event has been cancelled due to bad weather.
There you have it. You heard it here live. Leah is a master at what she does, and she just proved it. Leah, thank you so much for joining me on Video Vantage today. I think everybody learned a ton, and it was lovely to have you on.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we will see you next week. Bye.